Hey guys, this is TJ, and you're listening to the Bamsters podcast. Remember, with great podcasts comes great entertainment. Boom, 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 boom.
Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the Rated R podcast. This week we have our comic shop talk, first one of the year. As always, I am 𝘾𝙤𝙢𝙤𝙎, and my buddy, our comic encyclopedia TJ, is here with me.
What's going on, good brothers and good sisters?
So, we scheduling, illnesses, like all kinds of stuff coming up at the end of the year 2018. We didn't get a chance to do the final episode, so I thought what we would try and do this time around is kind of a look back onto 2018, which is what we probably would have done with the last episode anyway.
Pretty much.
And also a look forward into 2019, so you'll get kind of like two episodes mashed into one. And so I guess we'll just start running through some of the topics we threw together on a list here and see where it takes us. So the first thing you had me put on the list here is Black Panther.
I mean, absolutely. Black Panther 100% should be the first thing that we talk about as far as comic culture, pop culture, movies, and quite frankly, culture as a whole this year. Black Panther was a game changer in a way that everybody knew would be, but I don't know if they necessarily expected it to be just how much of a game changer it was, which is phenomenal. It's amazing to see people who don't read comics wearing Black Panther t-shirts and buying Black Panther toys, buying Black Panther comic books and trade paperbacks, shouting Wakanda forever, and it's meaningful. It's the game changer, man. And we'll get into the other one later in the show, but I had a buddy of mine who, from back home, who basically said it as well. I mean, he's like me, born and raised in New York City, and he even said it. He goes, you have no idea what it means as a Black comics fan to start the year with Black Panther and to end the year with Miles Morales. So what a year this has been for comics fans as a whole, but for any comics fan who doesn't necessarily feel like they get to be a part of the narrative, this was your year. So, and Black Panther kicking the door down, man. So that was awesome.
And it was done so well.
Sure.
It was such an awesome movie.
For sure. I mean, action-packed, so much heart, characters who are tangible, characters who are imperfect, because, sometimes people are always afraid of reading comic books because, all these characters are perfect. And now you're seeing just how imperfect they are. And that's what makes them human, and just like any of us. So, yeah, Black Panther is definitely one of the big winners this year as far as I'm concerned. So, they stuck the landing, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know how much this means coming from me because I'm just a big fan of all these superhero movies anyway. I just, I can't get enough of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was one of the things I loved was the relationship dynamic between him and his sister.
Oh, yeah.
Shuri, awesome.
Shuri was the breakout character of the movie, bar none.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the moment I get Shuri and Peter Parker, teenage science nerds, on screen together, because it's going to be the cutest thing ever.
That would be pretty cool.
There's an issue. There's an issue of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that I think it was Reginald Hudlin wrote years ago. Man, at this point, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And Peter's powers are evolving, but the evolution is killing him. So Peter does what any person is going to do. You need help figuring something out, you go to Wakanda and you go to T'Challa. And there's a scene where T'Challa's coming back with the results for what's happening to Peter, and Peter's sitting in a chair in this kind of waiting, kind of throne room sort of area, and two of the girls from the palace are putting his hair into cornrows, and T'Challa's kind of giving him the results, and he stops and he goes, Peter, what are you doing? It doesn't look... this is not what it looks like, T'Challa. And T'Challa's like, are those girls not putting your hair in cornrows? Peter's like, well, I guess it is what it looks like. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun if we ever get an opportunity to see Peter kind of out of his comfort zone, out of Queens, into this much larger world, other than, him being in space. And, I guess dead. Speaking of which, let's talk about Infinity War.
Good segue.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, what can you not say about Infinity War other than for years and years and years and years, all I would hear from people I know is they don't make comic book movies for comics fans. They're made for mainstream audiences, wider audiences. So you can't always expect to get the things that you read. And I call bullshit on all of you. Infinity War was the best giant summer comic book crossover ever. It was so much fun. I never thought I'd see all of these characters together at once in a way that just not just felt huge and felt gigantic, but also felt scary and kind of hopeless. And that's exactly what you want for something like this. And it was a slam dunk.
I know I've said it before on the show too. It's just like, if you would have told younger me we could see these characters, it blows my mind that we get to see them, that everything looks so good, that the storytelling is great. As far as the sentiment that they don't make comic book movies for comics fans, I think maybe that sentiment was pre-Marvel Studios, because Marvel Studios, when they started bringing stuff out,
Iron Man out the gate was.
Yeah, I mean, it
Sure.
really was for comics fans. And in addition to the mass market audience, I think they've hit a good balance of both.
It can easily be for both audiences. And there's always this preconceived notion that when comics fans say that they want comic movies to look like comics, that they want to alienate these audiences that don't read comics. We want people to see why we love this stuff. We want people to see why this has always been so cool and what you've been missing out on. And clearly Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, Jon Favreau, all these guys were just like, yeah, absolutely, we feel the same way. And it's been nothing short of awesome. And even the weaker movies, I'd still take over other studios' superhero films. So Infinity War is just the culmination of all things wonderful and awesome, and why we love comic books, why we love superheroes, why we love storytelling. The only downside to Infinity War were all, the knuckleheads who are like, oh, well, why am I going to be sad over them? I know they're going to come back. It's like, that's not the point. The point is to feel the emotion of the moment. And I'll tell you, they nailed that. They nailed how terrified all of them were, how scary all of it is. Anybody who didn't tear up during the scene with Spider-Man and Iron Man, because in that moment you remember just how much of a kid Peter is. There's nothing I disliked about that movie. Not a thing.
And from what I understood about that scene, I read an article online that said that when he showed up to film that day, he didn't know that that's what he was filming.
Yeah.
That they literally just threw him into that last minute, and I think it was a few different takes or something, but he kind of ad-libbed that, and
yeah,
I mean, that speaks volumes about the kid's ability to act. Like, that was amazing.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, best Spider-Man of all time, and it's going to be amazing to see him grow into the role.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Infinity War, man, another one, man. Much like the 80s, it was rockin' like dockin'.
You'd like to find those rhymes.
I do what I do.
So, talking about the loss of some big names in 2018, in the prior year, we lost Steve Ditko.
Talking about Spider-Man, but even not just Spider-Man, Doctor Strange as well. Any of you guys who listen know Spider-Man's my all-time favorite Marvel superhero, but one of my favorite characters of all time is Ted Kord, a.k.a. the Blue Beetle. It's another one that Ditko gave us. The Question, Squirrel Girl's been a big breakout character the last couple years. Steve Ditko created her. I mean, Hawk and Dove were huge on Titans this year. He created them. His contribution to comics are just innumerable, immeasurable. So, wherever Steve Ditko may be, because he probably, didn't think he'll end up anywhere, because that's just how Steve Ditko was. And he's probably not going to care that a couple nerds are talking on a podcast about him and about his legacy. But, thank you. Thanks for everything. Steve Ditko is a huge part of why I love comic books the way I do. And it's so much of it has to do with the characters that he created and co-created. So, yeah.
Well, and this next one, I didn't know him personally, but I would like to think that, he had a pretty good sense of humor, so I think he would appreciate the joke. Not to be upstaged, Stan Lee also passed this year.
Yeah, I feel like, Steve does something, Stan's got to outdo him. So, there you go. No, I mean, look, what do you say? I mean, what Stan Lee did to make comics mainstream acceptable is You know, very few people were able to do that, whether it was, you know, narrating the cartoons in the 80s, college campus tours in the 70s. I mean, Stan's Soapbox, you know, making comic book creators accessible, making the Marvel bullpen accessible. I mean, you know, you think the Marvel bullpen, you think so many of these legends. You think Stan, you think Jack Kirby, you know, Marie Severin, who also just passed away, and that was a huge loss for comics. I mean, when you think, you know, women working in comics at a time that, you know, almost no woman was, Marie Severin is easily the first one you go to right there. You know, John Romita Sr., obviously, all these, Artie Simek, all these really major people that made the Marvel Age of Comics, 60s Silver Age Marvel Comics, what it was. And, you know, Stan was so the kind of the face of it. So, I mean, you know, there's obviously things to be said about Stan. I don't know if he necessarily treated his co-collaborators the way he should have. I think sometimes he, you know, too much credit, but that's also a conversation for another time. You can't deny just how important Stan was to comics. So, you know, vaya con Dios.
Couldn't have said it better. So,
and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of that. Now, you mentioned a moment ago, Hawk and Dove, and I know that this next part is not necessarily going to be your favorite topic right now. I know we've talked off and on throughout the year about the Titan show that was on would be and now is on the DC streaming service.
Yes. And Netflix streaming service for all of you internationally.
Yeah, the costuming has been amazing. Hit it right out of the park.
Huge shout out to my girl Lindsay Skinner for working on the Robin costume. She nailed it.
So, good job, Lindsay. However, the writing maybe not so great.
It's been tough. Okay, so I gotta say this. It's not necessarily the show that I wanted. It doesn't mean that it's not the show that other people want, and if they enjoy it, then that's great for them. Good for them. I think. I'll tell you this. You want to talk about like the high note of the show? Hands down, far and away, and not in comparison, but on its own, the Doom Patrol episode is. Oh man, it's the best episode of the show, hands down. It was super fun. It was a little weird. Kind of a little off kilter, but that's great because that's what the Doom Patrol is. So, yeah, they totally nailed that. There's a lot I don't like about the show. Okay, cool, it's dark and gritty, and we're gonna drop the F-bomb, and Robin stabs a dude in the junk, and...
FTJ.
That's how it felt. No, but the other highlight is Donna Troy. Because the Donna should be the highlight of anything the Titans. Donna Troy is a shining beacon amongst the Teen Titans team, amongst Teen Titans fans. There is no one that shines brighter as far as hope goes the way Donna Troy does. So seeing her live action for the first time ever is just wonderful. And so, yeah, kudos to that. Absolutely. I'm curious to see what happens with season 2. So, I mean, who knows? I don't necessarily care for, and spoiler alert, I don't necessarily care for New 52 Superboy in there. I also don't, and this is a me thing. Young Justice did it. Titans is doing it. I know that the Robin Superboy dynamic is great, but the Robin Superboy dynamic works because of the relationship that Connor Kent and Tim Drake had. And they keep kind of just trying to shoehorn it with other Robins, and it just doesn't work for me. So, again, that's just a me thing. But if you dug it, then that's awesome. Tell us, obviously, your thoughts. Hit us up on Twitter and on Facebook. Or
in the comments on YouTube. Yeah.
Let us know what you thought. So, that being said, though, I got to shift to comics. Oh, hang on.
Real quick, before we shift to comics.
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out something.
What's that?
You said we'd never get Batman on the small screen.
We didn't.
We did.
No, we didn't.
It's
not Batman.
It may not technically be Batman.
It's not Batman.
But if you tuned in for just a few moments, you would think Batman
Then you saw what Trigon made Robin think was Batman. But it's not Batman. We'll never get Batman on the small screen.
And
you heard it first.
And one of the things I thought was interesting, or at least a little bit strange, was their design that they went with on the Batmobile. Looked to be kind of like an updated version of the 60s?
Yeah. That was exactly what they were going for with it.
Okay.
So, which I thought was super cool. I love the idea of Batman having just at least 20 different kinds of Batmobile in the cave. And it was refreshing to not see a stupid frickin' tank.
Well, I was going to say, I don't need a tank, but yeah, I just thought it was a little bit strange that they went with that as opposed to something a little more modern.
Oh, I love it. I think for what the show is, it was kind of weird to see something so classic.
Well, because you look at the costuming and that's all much more modern, so that's why one of the reasons I
thought it was a nice change of pace in there for sure. But I guess I got to shift to comics for a moment with this. Probably could save it for when we start talking about comics as we get down our list. But I'm hugely disappointed with the treatment of the majority of the Titans in the DC universe, in DC Comics right now in the publishing. The return of Wally West signaled the rebirth of the DC universe, the big DC rebirth push. There is no DC universe without certain characters. Wally West is one of them. And the moment they had an opportunity to, they killed him. And it's frustrating because to me, it just goes to show the way the powers that be feel about a specific point of time in comics, and it sucks, quite honestly. Not just Wally getting killed off, but Roy Harper getting killed off, Arsenal, aka Speedy, another former founding Teen Titan right there, and then everything that's going on with Nightwing in his own book with the whole silly amnesia storyline and the Rick Grayson nonsense. And I mean, to the point where Benjamin Percy, the moment he got on Nightwing, when that story was announced, he left the book. And it could not be a more editorialized story. You've got Scott Lobdell writing this.
Rick Grayson, is he going to start fighting zombies?
Yeah, right? It's disappointing. It's really unfortunate to see that, and sometimes look, truth. Stan Lee, we talked about him before. There's a quote from Stan that I've always really liked, and it's "The readers are the editors," and I always thought that was kind of a neat way of saying listen to the fans, listen to what the fans want, and that's just not done enough anymore. There's no reason that the DC universe has to become this dark torture porn again. And the Titans represent the future. They've always represented this hope for a brighter tomorrow. And they just keep damaging these characters more and more and more to the point where it starts to feel hopeless. I mean, your mileage may vary on how you feel about comics between like the late 80s to about the mid 2000s, but there was something really cool about that period. And a great example is, you've got, like, take the Batman family, for example. You've got, Batman as a part of like the current guard, Nightwing as a part of the generation who will take over the reins in the future. And, Robin is part of the generation who is going to be looking to that next tomorrow, taking over for the Titans as the Titans grow up. And, Dick may eventually become Batman. Donna may eventually become Wonder Woman. Wally's already the Flash, so on and so forth. And there was this neat kind of legacy that the DC Universe always represented. And for some reason, it just keeps getting cut and cut and cut to the point where it really doesn't matter anymore. And it's unfortunate to see because everybody talks about how lame comics were in the 90s and how dark everything was. And that's the only thing people seem to like right now in the DC universe as dark. And looking back on it, the DC universe wasn't really as dark as everybody likes to say that it was. So it's, like I said, it's a bummer to see such beloved characters not just get killed, but kind of have their legacies kind of thrown away. So it's unfortunate, and it's one of those things that I hope to see change come 2019, come 2020, that maybe there's a little bit of a brighter vision of superhero comics. Not everything has to be so dark and gritty and so, pardon the phrase, so fuck Batman.
Well, and we'll get into some of the movies that we got to see this year a little bit further down the line for DC, but I would say if they're any indication in how things have changed between the early Superman movies going into Justice League and then now Aquaman, if those are any kind of indication, then we'll probably start to see a lightening of the DC universe, because they've been injecting more humor and lightening things up a little bit in the movies themselves.
I'm not necessarily looking for humor. I don't need everything, like...
Even the tone has changed some with the way that it's been, like Aquaman definitely was not like all dark and gritty and all that, so but we'll get into Aquaman later.
We'll dive into Aquaman later.
Oh, there you go.
What is this, your first day?
Yeah, always. But so speaking of beloved characters, one that you saw on Netflix that I know you said you really loved, Sabrina. Now,
yeah.
I've seen the first episode, but I haven't had time to really sit down and dig into that one yet.
Loved. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. 10 out of 10 would watch again. Love it. First, I mean, big shout out, obviously, to Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa for taking what he wrote in the comics and adapting it for television. I mean, before he was in comics, he worked in TV. He was a playwright as well. So, I mean, this is a guy who knows how to do it. And it was wonderful. Kiernan Shipka, the actress who played Sabrina, is so likable. She is charming, adorable, clever, sharp, and she could be your best friend. And that's the best thing about that character. Everything that goes on around her should absolutely be dark. But I love that no matter what she does that ends up being dark, she's always trying to do the right thing, or she's trying to do it with the best intentions. And that's great because, as we know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, right.
So it just makes what she does all the more fascinating, all the more interesting. Every character is completely, at least like the main characters, are absolutely what I look for in comics and in television. They're tangible and real, no matter how much crazy is going on around them. Her aunties, Hilda and Zelda, are awesome. It's Miranda Otto from Lord of the Rings and Lucy Davis from Wonder Woman, and the two of them are just shining. Like, just they're the absolute best things about that show. Jeffrey Coyle from Coupling as the headmaster is great, and I just remember him from Coupling being this goofy sort of character, and on this he's just so dark and so like cunning. So yeah, everything about the show was fun. I can't wait for more. I just watched the Christmas special, and it was a good way to kind of whet my appetite for April 2019. So I mean, it's just so good. The only a buddy of mine brought up a great point. The only gripe that he had about the show was all of us who read the comics had to wait like 6 to 8 months between issues because of how far behind that series was. So he's like, everybody who loved the show should wait 2 years for the next season, just so they know how all the comic readers felt, which I thought was really funny. But I mean, another winner on Netflix hands, and more importantly, another winner on Archie's hands. You know, Archie continually finds ways to change the perception of that company and the narrative of what makes things successful and popular. And I never would have thought Archie would be the publisher who continues to lead the way on that, and they nail it every time.
That's cool. Well, I guess on the flip side of new titles would be series that have been canceled or ended from Netflix, and we're getting a bunch of that with the Marvel series. And I guess, you know, when it came out, I know in a previous episode, G and I talked a little bit about it. When it came out with Iron Fist, we weren't really shocked. Mm-hmm. Then saw the cancellation of Luke Cage, which we were a little surprised by.
Brokenhearted.
Yeah, I mean, I just brokenhearted. With the reception that had, I would not have expected that one to cancel. And then to add salt to the wound, I guess insult to injury, Daredevil also canceled. Like, what? And I think another thing is we're looking at Jessica Jones here will have its third season, I think, shortly, and we're getting a second season of Punisher. Yeah. We're expecting both of those to be called in as canceled after those seasons air.
I really think Daredevil should have got the fourth and then should have canceled. Not that I want to see these canceled anyway, but, you know, business is business is business.
Well, and from what I was reading online, too, it seems like this is more... initially, I thought this was a thing where it was like, you know, Disney starting up their streaming service and they're trying to pull some characters back, so maybe they're not extending contracts or re-signing contracts. But no, it sounds like this was actually a decision on the side of Netflix to do this.
Yeah, well, a lot of the talk, too, with Disney as far as the Netflix characters go, rather I should say Marvel Studios television as opposed to Marvel Studios film. Marvel Studios doesn't really care for the television stuff. Like the film side, they don't care for the TV stuff.
Yeah, what is it with these companies, like the internal stuff with Marvel that can't seem to play nice? Like the TV shows and the movies and the streaming services all...
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I do think as a whole, the overall Marvel universe tends to suffer as far as that goes, because I would give my right leg to see Spider-Man and Daredevil team up with one another against the Kingpin.
There's so much great potential content.
That's just me.
Even if you just had the Defenders show up for a short few minutes in Infinity War alongside Doctor Strange or something like that, that would have been amazing.
You know, I mean, it's also unfortunate too because it was so clear we were getting Daughters of the Dragon.
Yeah, it looked like we really were.
You know, look, real talk, I mean, the importance of Luke Cage isn't just another black superhero on TV, but it's a bulletproof black superhero on TV. And with the world that we're living in right now, a character like that is so important. And I'm not trying to get overly political here, but if you can't understand why a character like Luke Cage is as important as he is today, then you're not really looking at what's going on in the world right now. And more importantly, looking what's going on in the United States. So to see Luke Cage get canceled is really, really unfortunate. To see the Daughters of the Dragon not get a chance is really unfortunate.
That would have been awesome.
I'm going to go into it more, but this has been a great couple of years for the rise of female characters in comics, female superheroes as a whole, and not just the catch-all term of strong female protagonists, which people kind of use but don't really understand. I thought that this was going to be really great to see that happen with them. I hope that they can find a way to wrap up Jessica Jones. I hope that they can find a way to wrap up The Punisher. We'll see what happens. It's unfortunate that both of those divisions don't necessarily get along with one another because in the end, you know, no one suffers but the fans.
Yeah.
I know that Disney has recently come out and said that they're not opposed to getting that content on Disney Plus.
Right.
I'm not necessarily holding my breath yet, especially if they're going to push the Loki show with Tom Hiddleston, the Scarlet Witch show with Elizabeth Olsen. So if all that stuff is going to fit much more closely into the overall narrative of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I guarantee you Defenders are taking a backseat for sure.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but...
I mean, you gotta remember, Kingpin's first appearance in the comics is Amazing Spider-Man issue 51, and up until Frank Miller's work on Daredevil, the Kingpin was always a Spider-Man villain. So it would have been really, really cool to see, you know, teenage Tom Holland Spidey and kind of like, you know, kind of getting tired of this shit, Charlie Cox Daredevil having to team up against someone like Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, who has even said he would love to play Kingpin in a Spider-Man movie, just because there's only one line that I want in all of the history between Spidey and Kingpin. The only thing I'd want to see in a Spider-Man movie where Kingpin is the bad guy is the scene from the Ultimate Spider-Man comics when Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley were doing it. It was early on. First time Kingpin and Spider-Man meet face-to-face, and Teen Spidey pulls out of his backpack this note, and he looks at it, and he says to the Kingpin, and I quote, "You're a big fat fatty of a fat man." And then just starts wailing him with, like, yo mama jokes and you so fat jokes.
So I gotta circle back to something you just described a second ago. Did you just describe the lethal weapon of the Marvel Universe?
Totally. It totally is.
That's awesome. Daredevil's, I'm too old for
Parker,
this shit.
I'm getting too old for this shit. Totally. No, but, you know, it's always fun when there's the older-younger dynamic between Peter Parker and Matt Murdock. Especially because, you know, Matt carries all this, you know, this weight, all this Catholic guilt and everything. And he channels it in such, like, this morose sort of way. And Peter carries his guilt with him, but he channels it in this way where you want to roll up a newspaper and bop him on the nose like a dog and tell him to shut up. So, yeah, stuff like that's fun. And I'm sad that we'll miss out on that kind of opportunity. I would have loved to have seen Cap and Luke Cage side by side with one another.
Yo.
I would have loved to have seen a scene where Luke lifts Thor's hammer. Because in my estimation, there's only a handful of characters in the Marvel Universe that can lift Thor's hammer, and I've always had a theory that Luke Cage could be one of them if they ever actually attempted it. Luke Cage, at his heart, is he's one of the best men in the Marvel Universe. It's why Cap had him lead the New Avengers for a while. Yeah, to me, you know, it's Spidey, it's Cap, it's The Thing, it's Luke Cage. There's a handful. I even have a theory that Susan Richards is one of them, but cool. That's a whole thing for another time.
Well, we've mentioned Spidey a couple times, so I guess we'll shift into some of the movies we got to see this year, especially towards the end of the year, that turned out either, well, one way or the other, but especially this one was really great, Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse is the best superhero movie I saw this year, hands down. The end. That is all she wrote.
Wait. Are you forgetting about Infinity War here?
Yeah, it's the best superhero movie that I saw this year. Hands down, the end. That's all she wrote.
It was great. I loved it. My daughter loved it. We had a great time watching it. Would I say it was the best? I would say it was the best animated superhero movie I've seen in a while.
Best superhero movie, hands down. It completely and totally encapsulates the importance of superheroes, the importance of legacy, just the power and responsibility that you always get out of Spider-Man. Never have I seen it the way they did it in this. I start to finish, I loved it. Every character was great. The reimagining of characters was great. Never thought I'd see Tombstone in a Spider-Man movie, so thumbs up for that. The Bill Sienkiewicz style Kingpin, love it. What can't you say? I mean, you know, seeing Spider-Gwen on screen is so cool. I mean, it's great for guys like Jason Latour and Robbie Rodriguez and Rico Renzi, all these guys who created the character or created the concept of the character. I loved Spider-Ham when I was a kid, and anybody who knows me knows that one of my softest spots in comics is Goose Rider. So seeing Spider-Ham on screen is the coolest thing ever. I love that. I'm happy that Nicolas Cage finally got a superhero movie where it's good. I mean...
Yeah, I was surprised when I heard him. I'm like, wait,
big ups and shout-outs to Nicolas Cage. But really, I mean, my big thing with superheroes, I love legacy. I love characters who take over for others who can no longer do it. I mean, every character in the DC universe, in some way, shape, or form, that's my favorite, is a legacy character. Whether it's they started a legacy or it's a character who is continuing said legacy. And the Marvel Universe doesn't really do that well. There are very few characters in the Marvel Universe where the concept of legacy is well done. And I never thought Spider-Man was a legacy character. To me, Spider-Man is Spider-Man is Spider-Man. And while Peter Parker is my favorite because that's who I grew up with, he's a character who I love, a character who I relate to, forever and ever, I want the animated Spider-Man franchise to revolve around Miles Morales because I don't need Peter. And there are kids who need Miles. And it is awesome to see that. I love the way Miles is handled in the comics. I love the way they treated him in the movie. It's perfect. And, you know, again, you guys heard me, as a born and raised New Yorker, just like Spider-Man Homecoming feels like what it is to be a city kid, they absolutely do it in Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, and everything, even like the music score in that movie was great. And it was, you know, it was appropriate and it felt right.
My girlfriend started laughing at me, like, because, you know, there's all this, you know, modern hip-hop in there, Post Malone, a lot of that is used. But, like, I just started bopping, not realizing it, the moment Hypnotized by Biggie Small started playing. So, you know, that's my era of growing up in New York City. I was in high school, 96, 97, or rather, 97, 98, all that. So, for me, that was really cool, was hearing that, because right there, it's like, this is high school for me, you know? So I loved it. I loved the heart. I love Chris Pine as Spider-Man. I love, what's his face? Jake Johnson as Spider-Man. But legit, my moment was the end credits where I screamed, holy shit, when I didn't realize throughout the whole damn thing, I kept saying, what the fuck? Why does Alchemax sound so damn familiar to me? And then I forgot Alchemax is the organization where Miguel O'Hara got his powers and became Spider-Man 2099. So seeing him at the end of the movie was the coolest thing ever. And I know everybody loved the whole, hey, look, the meme came to life on screen. I honestly didn't care about that. I cared that I saw Miguel O'Hara on screen. So, take it for what you will. But yeah, my favorite superhero movie this year. Easily.
So, as a big DC fan, it wasn't Aquaman?
Oh, man. I still have... I'm sure I'll go see Aquaman. I still haven't seen it.
Or as you like to call him, Aqua Bro?
No, my preferred name for him is Momoa Man, because Jason Momoa is just playing Jason Momoa in the ocean. So, but hey, look, man, do you, dog?
Well, you know what? Honestly, like, I've been kind of back and forth about this because typically I like things to be as much as possible accurate to comic depiction, and yet I feel like the DC Cinematic Universe redesign with Aquaman.
They call it the DC Extended Universe.
Whatever.
Sir, get it right.
Excuse me.
Get it right.
But I feel like this redesign is actually far better for the character. I actually do like it. So
I don't care about the redesign. I'm totally fine with it. I mean,
except that I didn't like the gloves. Like when he comes out in like the full-on suit with the green pants and the orange scale mail and the
gloves got to be there if he's going to wear the old school.
I'm fine with him wearing gloves. I just didn't like the design of the gloves. It looked weird and kind of strange.
Actually, he doesn't technically. Well, no, that's a whole conversation for another time. No, I don't mind beard and long hair. I mean, when I was 13 in 94 when Aquaman got the redesign with the long hair and the beard and the harpoon hands. Like, was it Peter David and Marty Eagleland and then Peter David and Jim Calafor? But I loved all that stuff. I thought it was such a cool, interesting, radical take on the character. And the character needed the shot in the arm. So, and there was a lot of cool stuff that happened through that. I mean, specifically, Phil Jimenez got to take Aqualad and turn him into Tempest. So he was the last of the original 5 Teen Titans to grow up into his new role. So there was a lot of cool stuff that was going on in the Aquaman comics in that period that a lot of people have slept on, because there's always the idea that Aquaman is lame when it's so not true. And I'm sure that the movie does a lot to show you why Aquaman's not lame. James Wan is one of my favorite filmmakers. I love every horror movie that guy has done.
I thought they did a really good job on the design and like how they showed off Atlantis too. Like that was really, really neat and interesting to see the way that they did that.
Plus, I mean, I know that they use the trench a bit in the movie, so James Wan being a horror guy, I'm sure he kind of dialed that up a little bit with them, cool. Which is very cool. We've already talked about my only gripe with the movie, having not seen it yet, so I don't want to judge the movie. My only gripe is Aquaman Wonder Woman's got a great rogues gallery. Superman has a great rogues gallery. Batman. Flash might have the best in the DC universe. I know you Batman fans want to argue me, but don't. Flash probably has the best rogues gallery. Yeah, don't at me. But Aquaman doesn't really have a lot of, like, major cool villains. And the two best are Ocean Master and Black Manta. So it's...
Which, by the way, they both looked great.
Oh, they look boss from everything I've seen, for sure.
And when Ocean Master gets the full-on mask, and oh man, that looked good.
You can't take the two best villains and put them in the same movie. You can't. Why? What's the sequel?
This serves as more of an introduction to Black Manta than it does where he's the full-on, like, threat. But he does pose a threat. There is some... But this is more of, like, an introduction. And I get why
Too much scenery, then, with him in the costume in the movie, then. They should have left that for the end credits with him putting on the helmet and all that. And then you save it for Aquaman 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
I'm sorry, man. It's the Mark Steven Johnson Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, we all know it's not good. One of the biggest flaws that it has is the movie feels like Daredevil's greatest hits, because it takes from all of the best Daredevil stories in comics and turns it into one movie.
Daredevil mush.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool, Kingpin's in it, okay. Oh, and now we're going to do the Elektra stuff. Okay. And then Bullseye's in it. Oh, okay. Now you've got Daredevil and Elektra doing the bit from the story arc with Daredevil and Echo in the playground with the seesaw. And there's just all this stuff. And it's like this jambalaya of all the coolest things to put into one movie. It's like, what are you aiming for next? So that's my only real gripe with Aquaman is he doesn't have, like... One of the lamest Aquaman villains, and I can't believe I'm going to talk about him, is the Fisherman. And yes, it's stupid. And yeah, he looks like the Gorton's Fisherman. And it was awful. And yeah, it was also the 70s. But, I mean, really, man. Not the two of them in the same movie. And I know you said he's not in it a bunch, but the amount that he's in costume is too much.
I think it's too much, yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting how they did the story of basically giving these two characters some history.
Sure.
So I thought that was cool. That. The movie itself, the runtime on the movie is a little bit long, but honestly, they did really well with the pacing. It doesn't feel long.
That's good.
You go in, you watch the movie. It was a fun ride. I mean, it's not something that I took super serious, but it was a fun ride to sit and just watch and enjoy.
Yeah.
Again, it was another one I took my kiddo to, and she really enjoyed it. So yeah, but it doesn't feel that long. Like the pacing,
that's good.
You shoot right through and then it's done. So, but one you did see that you really enjoyed?
Loved it. Bumblebee. I hate Transformers movies with a fiery passion. I hate them. I just hate them. Sorry. I'm back now. I'm better. You
don't like Bayformers?
I mean, I don't know how many of you guys know this. Follow me on social media, whatever. I'm a huge Transformers fan. Huge Transformers toy collector. Comics, all of it. Transformers is a big, big thing for me. So the Transformers movies have just been the biggest disappointment. They're just so bad. I stopped after the second one, and, I got a lot of respect for a lot of you guys who kept going after that, and, I don't know why you hate yourself so much, but this movie is just perfect. It's perfect. It's fun, it's lighthearted, you care about the characters, both Cybertronian and human, and that to me is so important. Everyone talks about there's too many humans and not enough, Transformers. You need to have humans in a movie where they're robots in disguise. Otherwise, there's no point for disguise. So there's that. But the chemistry that Haley Steinfeld as Charlie has with the CGI Bumblebee is better than the lack of chemistry that Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox had. So that's amazing. No, she was great. She's so likable. Bumblebee, and I mean, man, I want to talk about so much, but the movie just came out. It is a fan's dream come true. The first maybe 5-6 minutes of that movie is everything you've ever wanted to see. Ever.
Damn.
It's that good. And then when they kind of keep going back to stuff like that throughout the movie, you're just as happy. There are characters I never thought I would see on screen looking the way they did. And my God.
In the previews, I saw Soundwave and
oh, you didn't... no? Oh, you have no idea.
See, Soundwave's always been one of my faves.
You know what? Hang on. We're going to do this. There's probably about 8 characters that are in that movie that you haven't seen.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is
I'm happy
amazing.
to I'm happy to go.
And they look the way they should,
nice.
Which is even better. So, yeah, this movie is made just like, Infinity War, just like Black Panther, just, it's made with fans in mind, but it's also made for an audience who doesn't necessarily have all this nostalgic history or all this, current passion. So, yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. The only thing better than Bumblebee was the frickin' soundtrack. Number one, I want all my Transformers movies forever to take place in the 80s. Because, that soundtrack is just...
Well, the cartoon movie that was on TV back in the 80s had a phenomenal soundtrack. I still listen to it.
Oh, yeah. If you like that, then you'll love this.
Nice.
And it's great because Charlie, Haley Steinberg's character, music is clearly a big part of who she is. So, the amount of times you hear the Smiths in the movie is super, super cool. There's a lot of post-punk new wave, a lot of metal. So, yeah, like I said, loved it. Stay for the end credits. It's nothing earth-shattering, but it's fun. So, yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
All right. So, real quickly, before we head into the things that we're looking towards in 2019, just kind of wanted to jump through real fast some of the books that you took a look at this year that you thought were definitely worth looking back at.
What do we want to start with first?
First up, on your list, you had Mr. Miracle.
Mr. Miracle is a Tom King and Mitch Gerard's. Probably the best superhero book of the year. Probably one of the best sitcom books of the year. Probably one of the best family drama books of the year. It's so cool to take 2 characters like Scott Free and Barda and put them in this weird kind of like suburb family dynamic while still doing all these really cool big Jack Kirby things with them. I cannot say enough about a book like that. It was wonderful.
Okay. Next up would be X-Men Grand Design and X-Men Red.
Yeah, X-Men Grand Design, Ed Piskor. I love Ed Piskor's work. Hip Hop Family Tree is one of my favorite comics of his. Probably one of my favorite comics the last 10 years. I'm, a huge hip hop fan growing up where I grew up, obviously. And it's kind of taps into all that stuff that made 80s hip hop and 90s hip hop so cool. Grand Design is just kind of a retelling of the X-Men universe, the X-Men corner of the Marvel universe in just in a way that kind of puts everything on its ear, and it's done just so lovingly. So yeah, that was killer. Definitely a big one. Yeah, X-Men Red, Tom Taylor and Mahmoud Asrar was creative team on that. It was cool to see Jean Grey in a position of leadership again. Very rarely does she ever get that. I remember one specifically, I think it was during Eve of Destruction. She kind of had this weird haphazard sort of team. But it was cool to see Jean have a really, really rad X-Men team. Who was on her team that she had there? You've got Gateway, Nightcrawler, Storm, X-23, Submariner, all these really cool fan favorite characters, and you got her, like I said, in this position of leadership. It was fun, and it was nice to see the X-Men fighting, once again, fighting for a world that fears and hates them. So nice to get back to basics. Power Rangers, you guys have heard me say it before. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Go-Go Power Rangers are the Teen Titans books that DC, for some reason, just can't nail down anymore. They've been fantastic. All the stuff with Lord Drac was a lot of fun. So, Boom just keeps sticking the landing on that. So, yeah, that was a fun one.
What is the I see one here on the list, My Boyfriend is a Bear?
Oh, My Boyfriend is a Bear was super, super, super fun. It's Pamela Ribbon and Kat Ferris. And I'm a sucker for drama, like romance, stuff like that. My girlfriend makes fun of me because I love teen angst. But this was just silly. It's just about this girl and her boyfriend is a bear, and all of the kind of silliness they get into with one another. Nora, the main character, has always had bad luck in relationships with guys, and she ends up meeting this bear, and his name is Bear. And it's super fun, and it's adorable, and I love it. So y'all should check it out.
All right. And Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing Spidey, Nick Spencer, Ryan Otley. I mean, it's a dream team book on there. Peter's back to basics. He's living with Randy Robertson, Joe Robertson's kid, and their roommate just secretly happens to be Boomerang, one of Spider-Man's arch enemies, and hilarity ensues. Oh, yeah, and Pete and MJ are back together again, so can't beat that. And then, of course, Ninja Turtles.
Oh, I wonder why we're mentioning this one.
Well, Dr. Shevlin only appeared in Bebop and Rocksteady this year. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is consistently the best superhero book on the racks today. If you're not reading it, you are missing out. If you have a preconceived notion of what Ninja Turtles are, because that you haven't read the comic books, you're missing out on, like I said, consistently the best comic book in comics. So,
well, and for those of you just joining us, maybe didn't get that joke, our good buddy here, TJ, did actually appear in, was it episode 67?
Issue 67 through 69. I am a character in there, yes. I used to work for IDW Publishing, so I'm pals with a lot of them over there. And I think I appeared recently in the most recent Bebop and Rocksteady miniseries. But more importantly, it's just the best superhero book on the racks right now. The most heart, the most action, the most character development, and it's hard to not love it. All those guys, Tom Waltz, Bobby Curnow, of course Kevin Eastman, and then the rotating art team, they just nail it every time.
Okay, so we'll try to do this as quickly as possible because I know we're coming up on an hour here. We spent a lot more time talking about 2018 than I thought we were going to.
We did. Look at that.
But so now we'll do a look ahead into 2019 and some of the things that we might be looking forward to. Maybe dreading, but hopefully looking forward to. First on the list I got here is Hellboy.
Looking forward to it.
I got to tell you, I have one buddy that said, he didn't care for how they made it look like he's, they've got some kind of mask on him or something like that. But, honestly, it looks and it sounds great. He looks and sounds like Hellboy. I'm so far I'm in on what little bit I've seen. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, Hellboy's. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's hard to screw that up. There's just at this point now, 25 years of really solid comic material to pull from. I really, really like David Harbour on Stranger Things, so
yeah.
I'm excited to see what he does with the character. It doesn't have to be Ron Perlman, and it also doesn't take away from Ron Perlman or Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy films, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So, and the next one is definitely on my list of things, and I don't know for certain yet if this will be releasing this year, but I know there's been work on it, The Mandalorian, for the Disney streaming service, because I'm a huge Boba Fett fan, so yeah, I cannot wait to see that.
I like Boba Fett. I don't like Boba Fett as much as everybody else does.
Shame on you. Get out.
Dude, I'm sorry. He got knocked into the Sarlacc pit by a blind Han Solo on accident.
I know.
Sorry.
I know. My cousin gives me crap for that all the time.
Boba Fett? Where?
He's like Boba Fett and Jango Fett, like the lamest characters in Star Wars. They both easily got taken out by total accident. Or by their jetpacks where their downfall. So.
No, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I love Jon Favreau. The Mandalorians were super, super cool on Clone Wars. Dave Filoni, who did Clone Wars, is working on this as well. So those are all awesome. But I'm also a really big Western fan. And the fact that this is going to just be kind of a Western set in the world of Star Wars, I'm totally sold on that. So yeah, let's do it.
Well, and speaking of that, I think, is it this year we're going to get a final season for Clone Wars?
For Rebels.
For Rebels.
Yeah,
it's for Rebels.
That's another one I'm excited about. Let's make dreams come true, guys.
So, this next one, now that I've titled it this way,
yeah,
I really feel like I need to see Hawkeye shooting a chicken off a bow, but Infinity War Part 2.
Oh, man. So Infinity War Endgame, also known as Infinity War The Return of Spider-Man, in my eyes. Yeah, let's bring it on, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see, hopefully, Adam Warlock. I'm excited to see how some characters end. I'm excited to see how some characters get revitalized. How do you not get excited for this?
Well, and I had an idea, because another one we've got on our list is Spider-Man Far From Home. I had an idea for the promotional material for that.
Oh, God.
A Spider-Man colored and symboled painted hourglass filled with sand.
Oh, you're terrible. That's terrible. That's just terrible. Nah, I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait for that.
Yeah, but before we get either one of those, we're going to have Captain Marvel.
Another one I can't wait for. I mean, Brie Larson is solid. So, great choice for Carol. Never the actress I would have thought to play Carol, but now I'm excited to see her play Captain Marvel. I'm super stoked. Spoiler alert that they confirmed Jude Law's playing Marvel, one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters, so I'm excited to see him on screen. Super stoked for the Skrulls, because that means we're that much closer to the Fantastic Four. So, yeah, I can't wait for all this. Plus, we get Coulson in a movie again. Boop!
Oh, yeah, there you go. And her cat.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I've
Goose.
seen the cat on the promotional material, too. So, like at the posters, or at the stand-ups at the theater and whatnot.
Super stoked. Plus, I'm also stoked for, since it takes place in the 90s, Maria Rambeau, her friend and pilot, clearly is going to be the mother of Monica Rambeau, who at one point in the comics was Captain Marvel and also the leader of Avengers at one point, and eventually becomes Photon. So I'm stoked that this clearly means we're going to get Monica Rambeau in the Marvel Universe proper. So
I was going to say, do you think that means we'll see Photon in the Avengers or not?
Oh, for sure.
Because, see, one of the things about the next Avengers film that I got excited about was when you told me about this storyline in the comics where Shuri takes on the mantle of Black Panther while he's away.
Yep.
And this is just the perfect time for them to do that on the big screen.
Totally. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a really good time for all of this. So I'm with it.
Okay. So, and you mentioned this earlier when we were talking about Titans, but Doom Patrol.
Oh, well, first I got to say Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm super excited about Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio. You better wear the fishbowl.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable. I don't care about anything else. Fishbowl's got to be there.
Well, no. You can't say you can't care about anything else, because he's got to have the cloak, too. And,
sure, that's fine. Fishbowl.
Yeah.
When you think Mysterio, you don't think cloak, you think fishbowl.
I think cloak and fishbowl.
Fishbowl's first. Fishbowl's first. I don't care about anything
else. It's definitely the standout characteristic of that character.
It is the characteristic.
But yeah, I don't think of Mysterio without the cloak either. So.
Sure, okay, have the cape there, that's fine, but fishbowl first.
Yeah.
Doom Patrol I'm excited about. The cast is great. I mean, they're all from Titans, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, I mean, Brendan Fraser as Robot Man. Hell yeah. So, let's make that happen.
Cool. And another that I am excited for, the third season of Young Justice. I can't express my excitement.
I'm cautiously optimistic. The things that I've seen, I'm not as excited as I necessarily was, but I hope to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. The first two seasons of that show were phenomenal, and I was deeply disappointed when it was canceled. So I have high hopes for it. I'll try to temper those hopes or those expectations.
I hope it's going to be good. I mean, if you were going to do a show about The Outsiders, just do The Outsiders. But I don't know. We'll see.
So, and another bright light in the DC universe, or so we hope, Shazam!
I'm stoked for, Captain Marvel on screen. It's a character I never thought we'd see on screen, so...
No, we already mentioned Captain Marvel.
No, the real Captain Marvel.
I'm just messing with you.
No, can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm stoked to see Freddie Freeman on screen as well, because clearly that means he'll be Captain Marvel Jr. Hopefully we get Mary Marvel. Hopefully this is just classic Fawcett Marvel family. I don't need New 52. A bunch of kids have the powers of Shazam. Just go classic. But we'll see what happens. One way or another, I'm excited to see Captain Marvel on screen. I'm excited to eventually lead to Black Adam. It's going to be super cool. So, yeah, I'm totally down for that.
And is Black Adam a potential for this year, or is that further down the line?
I think it's further down the line. Okay. But that's fine. Take your time with it.
Okay. And then we'll round out most of this year with the books this year that you're looking towards or looking forward to getting your hands on.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening this year. The WWE comic, and you guys have heard me say it before, always proves to be a lot of fun, especially if you're a longtime wrestling fan. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening in some of the one-shots this year. There's a WWE Forever one-shot that's going to be super cool. Arun Singh is doing some writing on that. Lan Pitts is going to be doing I think it's Razor Ramon versus Ted DiBiase in a jewelry shop. So that's going to be hilarious and a lot of fun. I think those are going to be super cool. Brett Schoonover is doing more work in there. So, yeah, Boom, again, constantly sticks the landing on that WWE book and proves that you can make fun wrestling comics. So
Nice.
That's going to be awesome. Super excited for X-Men this year. Again, looks like they're kind of putting things back to basics. More superhero stuff again. More fighting in the world that fears and hates them. And Cyclops is going to be wearing the old school Jim Lee costume again. So can't wait for that. Daredevil, Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. That's going to be awesome. Chip Zdarsky can do no wrong in comics at all. His stuff is always so good. That final issue he did on Peter Parker Spider-Man might have been the best single issue comic of 2018. And if you didn't read it and cry, you have no heart. But yeah, and Marco Cicchetto's work on The Punisher a couple years back is some of my favorite stuff. So yeah, can't wait for that. Kieran Gillen doing Peter Cannon Thunderbolt for Dynamite. I've always been a sucker for the Charlton heroes of the 60s. You heard me talking about Blue Beetle in the question earlier when we talked about Steve Ditko. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I think Kieran Gillen doing Peter Cannon Thunderbolt is going to be really cool. For those of you who don't know much about the character, all you need to know is if you loved Watchmen, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt is the inspiration for Ozymandias. So just like all the Charlton action heroes were the influences for the Watchmen characters. So it's going to be super, super cool. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So can't wait for that. And then there are probably the two I'm most excited about this year. I think this is going to be really, really cool. The number one I'm most excited about, hands down, is Wonder Comics by Brian Michael Bendis. I cannot wait to see what he does with it, how he does it. It's just, I mean, it's so nice and so refreshing to see someone who is actively looking to make all ages comic books, looking to make something that's kid friendly, but older fans can still read it. It's what mainstream superhero comics should be, is all ages friendly, but it doesn't mean it has to be childish. And when people hear all ages friendly, they think, it's for kids. It's for everybody. All ages. That's what it implies. But the comics that are coming out of that, I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but the stuff that's happening in there, and I think the stuff that's going to be really cool, you've got a Wonder Twins comic book, which is going to be written by Mark Russell and art by Stephen Byrne, who is probably one of Disney's better licensing artists. So it's cool to see him get into comics because he's a big comic book fan. Dial H for Hero, written by Sam Humphries and illustrated by Joe Quinones. That's a solid team right there. There is a new book called Naomi, written by Brian Michael Bendis, and with David Walker, who wrote Luke Cage recently, and the art is going to be by Jamal Campbell. So those are happening. You've got, and then probably the one I'm most looking forward to is the return of my personal favorite, Young Justice. And it's the return of Connor Kent as Superboy, Bart Allen as Impulse, and Tim Drake as Robin. And it is in continuity. So I don't know how it's happening, but Tim Drake is Robin again. So your boy is looking forward to 2019. But also in there, Cassandra Sandsmark and her return as Wonder Girl, which is super, super exciting. And then you've got two new characters. You've got Ginny Hex, who is, I believe, the great-great-granddaughter of Jonah Hex. And then a new Green Lantern, who is going to be a young girl from Bolivia who found a way to hack a Green Lantern power battery, and the nickname for the character is Teen Lantern. So I'm really, really excited about all that. I think that's going to be super fun. All of the characters, there's a lot of history with it, but there's a lot of cool kind of diverse sort of characters that everybody can kind of see themselves in. So yeah, Wonder Comics is going to kick ass. I cannot wait for all of that. And then the other big one for me this year is going to be Female Furies. You guys know I'm a big Jack Kirby guy. I love the Fourth World, so it's cool to see more Fourth World characters again. Stampa, Lashina, Mad Harriet, all these cool Female Fury characters, and it's being led by Big Barda, who, as I mentioned before, in Mr. Miracle. And it's going to be an all-female creative team with Cecil Castellucci and Adriana Mello. So it's going to be neat to see their kind of perspective on these characters. But the thing I'm most excited about this year is just more diverse creators in comics, more creators from different backgrounds, different walks of life, injecting new life, new perspective, and new blood into these characters who've been around at this point 75, 80 years. I think this is going to be a great year for that. And it just goes, the most important takeaway from Into the Spider-Verse is there's a quote in the movie, it's anyone can wear the mask. And that's what comics are, man. You know, so I'm so excited to see all of these new people coming in and just with this fresh perspective, telling me stories about these wonderful characters that all of us love.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's 2019 for me, man.
Well, I think that'll be a good note to end things on, especially because we've gone so long this week. So
sorry, G.
Thanks for sticking with us. Hope you enjoyed it once again. And, well, I guess goodbye 2018 and happy 2019 to folks.
Hey, 2018, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Take care, guys.
Adios.